Los Angeles, California, a private training facility in Chinatown, early evening, March 1969. The building sits between a dim sum restaurant and a shop selling traditional Chinese medicine, its entrance marked only by a red door with no sign, no indication of what happens inside. This is Wong's Martial Arts Academy, a place where serious practitioners train away from public eyes, where weapons masters refine their craft, where challenges between different fighting systems occasionally play out in private sessions that never make newspapers or magazines. The facility occupies the second floor of the building, accessible only by a narrow staircase that creaks under footsteps. The training space itself is approximately 40 feet by 60 feet. Hardwood floors scarred by decades of weapons practice, walls lined with mirrors on one side and weapon racks on the other. Heavy bags hang in one corner. A makiwara post stands in another. The lighting is functional fluorescent tubes that cast harsh shadows, creating an atmosphere more utilitarian than aesthetic. This is a place built for work, not for show. The air smells of wood polish and sweat and the particular mustiness of old training equipment that has absorbed years of human effort. The sounds from Chinatown drift through windows that face the alley. Distant traffic, conversations in Cantonese and Mandarin, the rhythmic chopping of cleavers from restaurant kitchens preparing for dinner service. It's Friday evening, the time when working martial artists come to train after their day jobs end, when the serious practitioners gather to push themselves beyond what public classes allow. Tonight, 11 people are present in Wong's academy. The owner, Master Wang Shunlong, is a Wing Chun master in his early 40s, one of Ip Man's most accomplished students, known throughout Hong Kong and Chinese diaspora communities as a formidable fighter who proved Wing Chun's effectiveness through countless challenge matches. He's 5'10", perhaps 170 pounds, his frame compact and powerful from decades of martial training. His school in Los Angeles serves the Chinese martial arts community, providing space for various practitioners to train and occasionally test themselves against each other in the informal challenge culture that still exists in traditional circles. Also present are 5 of Master Wong's regular students, Chinese Americans ranging in age from early 20s to late 40s, all training in Wing Chun and related Southern Chinese martial arts. They're spread across the training floor, some working wooden dummy, others practicing Qisao, the sticking hands drill that Wing Chun uses to develop sensitivity and reflexive responses. Bruce Lee is here because Master Wong is his senior kung fu brother, both having studied under Ip Man in Hong Kong. Bruce visits this academy regularly when in Los Angeles, training with Wong, exchanging techniques and philosophies, maintaining the connection to his Wing Chun roots, even as his Jeet Kune Do evolves beyond classical forms. Tonight, he's wearing simple training clothes, his compact frame moving through warm-up exercises in one corner, preparing for whatever training session Master Wong has planned. The remaining 4 people present are visitors, guests of Master Wong who requested permission to use the facility this evening for a private demonstration. They are Japanese, speaking among themselves in a language that Bruce and most of the Chinese practitioners don't understand. The leader of the group is a man named Takeshi Yamamoto, introduced to Master Wong as a Nunchaku champion from Okinawa, master of the Kobudo weapon arts that developed alongside karate in the Ryukyu Islands. Yamamoto is 35 years old, 5'11", approximately 185 pounds of wiry strength built specifically for weapons work. His hands show the calluses and scars that come from years of Nunchaku training. The weapon's hardwood and chain creating distinctive marks on palms and fingers as practitioners develop speed and precision. He's dressed in traditional Okinawan karate-gi, black belt wrapped around his waist, his bearing carrying the confidence of someone who has mastered a dangerous art form and knows exactly how deadly he can be. Nunchaku, for those unfamiliar, consists of 2 hardwood sticks connected by a short chain or cord. Originally an agricultural tool, it was refined into a weapon by Okinawan martial artists who were forbidden from carrying swords under Japanese occupation. In trained hands, Nunchaku becomes a devastating weapon, capable of strikes with force that can shatter bones, moving at speeds that create unpredictable attack angles, generating power through centrifugal force that multiplies the user's strength. A Nunchaku master can strike from multiple directions in rapid succession, can transition between offense and defense fluidly, can generate knockout power from seemingly relaxed positions. Yamamoto has traveled to Los Angeles specifically to demonstrate his Nunchaku mastery to the Chinese martial arts community, to show that Okinawan weapons arts equal or exceed Chinese traditional weapons in effectiveness. There's cultural and historical tension underlying this demonstration, centuries of complicated relationships between China, Japan, and Okinawa, martial arts nationalism where each culture claims superiority, the particular pride that weapons masters take in their specialized skills. Master Wong has agreed to host this demonstration out of professional courtesy and genuine interest in seeing high-level weapons work. But there's also an element of challenge in Yamamoto's request. an implied suggestion that Chinese martial arts, which emphasize empty hand techniques over weapons in many systems, might be inferior to Okinawan Kobudo's weapon specialization. Yamamoto begins his demonstration with basic techniques, showing the 11 spectators how Nunchaku generates power, how the weapon moves, how strikes come from unexpected angles. He starts slowly, building speed progressively, the Nunchaku whistling through air as it accelerates. The sound is distinctive, a sharp cutting noise followed by explosive impact when the weapon strikes the heavy bag. Each impact creates a sound like a baseball bat hitting leather, the force evident in how the heavy bag jumps and swings. The demonstration escalates. Yamamoto shows advanced techniques, figure-8 patterns that create continuous attacking motion, transitions where the weapon changes hands mid-strike, combinations that attack high and low in rapid succession. His control is absolute. The Nunchaku moves as extension of his body, flowing around his back and under his arms, accelerating and decelerating with precision that takes years to develop. Bruce watches with focused attention, analyzing the techniques through his framework. He sees sophistication in Yamamoto's weapons work, clear mastery developed through dedicated training. But he also sees patterns, predictable rhythms, attack angles that create defensive opportunities. The Nunchaku is dangerous, certainly, but it's a tool that requires specific mechanics to use effectively, and those mechanics create exploitable characteristics if you understand them. Yamamoto finishes his demonstration to respectful applause from the Chinese practitioners. He bows formally, then addresses the group in accented but functional English. Nunchaku is the supreme weapon for close-range combat. Against empty hands, even skilled empty hands, the weapon provides overwhelming advantage, speed, power, unpredictability, all superior to what unarmed fighting can generate. One of Master Wong's students, a man named David Chen, who trains Wing Chun seriously, asks a question. What about against someone who understands timing and distance? Could Nunchaku be evaded or countered by skilled empty-hand techniques? Yamamoto's response is polite but dismissive. In theory, perhaps evasion is possible. In practice, against expert Nunchaku like mine, empty-hand defense fails. The weapon is simply too fast, generates too much power, attacks from too many angles. I have demonstrated this against many opponents, including karate masters and kung fu practitioners. The weapon always wins. Bruce has been silent through the demonstration, but this assertion triggers his analytical mind. The claim that weapon always wins against empty hands is too absolute, too certain, too dismissive of the sophisticated empty-hand arts he's studied. He speaks up, his voice calm but carrying across the training floor. I disagree with always. A weapon provides significant advantages, certainly, but advantages aren't guarantees. Against someone who understands distance management and timing deeply, who can read the weapon's patterns and exploit the gaps those patterns create, empty hands can handle even expert weapons work. Yamamoto turns to face Bruce, assessing him. He sees a small Chinese man, perhaps 135 pounds, dressed in simple training clothes without rank or obvious credentials. To Yamamoto, this appears to be typical martial arts arrogance, someone who's never faced a real weapon making theoretical arguments about what's possible. You believe you could defend against my Nunchaku? Yamamoto asks, challenge clear in his tone. With just empty hands? No weapon of your own? I believe it's possible, Bruce responds carefully. Not guaranteed, not easy, but possible with proper understanding of timing and distance. Then demonstrate, Yamamoto challenges. Face my Nunchaku. Show these people that empty hands can handle expert weapon work, unless your belief is only theoretical, untested against actual weapons mastery. Master Wong intervenes, recognizing potential danger. Gentlemen, this is demonstration space, not challenge venue. Yamamoto-san, you are my guest. Bruce is my kung fu brother. I don't want anyone injured in confrontation that proves nothing. But Yamamoto persists. I am not suggesting injury. I am suggesting honest testing of beliefs. Bruce claims empty hands can handle Nunchaku. I claim they cannot. Simple demonstration shows who is correct. I will use control, not full power. Just enough force to prove weapon superiority without causing serious injury. If you're watching this story develop and recognizing that Bruce Lee is about to face a Nunchaku master in a challenge that could result in genuine injury, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. This moment becomes one of the most dangerous tests Bruce ever accepts. Not because of ego or pride, but because the question being raised deserves honest answer, and honest answers require actual testing under conditions that simulate reality. Subscribe to see how empty-hand mastery handles lethal weapons wielded by an expert. Bruce considers this carefully. He could decline, could say the risk is too great, that testing against lethal weapons with only control separating demonstration from actual violence is foolish. Master Wong is clearly concerned. The other practitioners are watching with mixture of anticipation and worry. But something about Yamamoto's certainty, about the absolute claim that weapons always defeat empty hands, requires challenge. I'll accept your demonstration, Bruce agrees, but with one condition. We make it more interesting. Make the test harder for me, so that if I can handle it, the point is proven beyond any doubt. Yamamoto's interest is piqued. What do you propose? Tie my hands, Bruce says simply. Bind my wrists together behind my back so I can't use my hands at all. Then demonstrate your nunchaku against me. If your weapon is truly superior to empty hands as you claim, this should make the demonstration even easier for you. If I can still avoid your attacks or survive them without serious injury despite having no hands to defend with, then perhaps weapon superiority isn't as absolute as you believe. The training floor goes silent. Everyone present understands what Bruce just proposed. Facing nunchaku is already extremely dangerous for empty hand practitioners. Facing it with hands bound behind your back is borderline suicidal. The nunchaku can strike from multiple angles, can break bones, can cause concussions, can generate enough force to seriously injure or kill. Without hands to block or deflect, without arms to protect vital areas, a person becomes completely vulnerable to the weapon's strikes. Master Wong speaks urgently in Cantonese. Bruce, this is insane. You cannot defend yourself with bound hands. Yamamoto's nunchaku will hit you. When it hits, you will be seriously hurt. I cannot allow this in my school. Bruce responds in Cantonese, his voice calm. Master Wong, I respect your concern, but the question is legitimate. Does weapon mastery truly provide overwhelming advantage against sophisticated understanding of distance and timing? The only way to answer definitively is through testing that removes my defensive tools and forces me to rely purely on evasion and positioning. If I can avoid strikes even with hands bound, the point is proven. Yamamoto is watching this exchange without understanding the Cantonese, but recognizing the concern in Master Wong's tone. When Bruce switches back to English, Yamamoto responds with mixture of respect and excitement. You are either very confident or very foolish, but I admire the courage. We will proceed with your condition. Your hands will be bound. I will attack with nunchaku, controlled power but real speed and technique. We demonstrate until first clean hit or until you request we stop. Agreed? Agreed, Bruce confirms. Master Wong reluctantly accepts the situation, understanding that both Bruce and Yamamoto are committed to this test. He establishes parameters. 3-minute maximum. If Bruce survives 3 minutes without serious hit, the demonstration ends. Yamamoto-san, you must use control. We are testing skill, not trying to hospitalize anyone. If I see danger of serious injury, I stop the demonstration immediately. One of Master Wong's senior students produces rope, standard cotton training rope kept for certain exercises. Bruce turns his back and places his wrists together behind him. Master Wong himself ties the binding, making it secure enough that Bruce cannot slip free, but not so tight that it cuts circulation. Once bound, Bruce tests the restriction. His hands are completely unusable, held behind his back at waist level. His arms cannot come forward to block. His hands cannot grab or strike. He is reduced to only his legs, his footwork, his body positioning, his ability to read attacks and move efficiently enough to avoid them. Yamamoto tests his nunchaku, warming up with a few practice swings. The weapon whistles through air with that distinctive cutting sound. When it strikes the heavy bag in passing, the impact is sharp and loud. Everyone present understands that these strikes, if they connect with Bruce's body, will cause significant pain at minimum, broken bones, or worse at maximum. They face each other in the center of the training floor. The 11 witnesses form a rough circle. Master Wong, his 5 students, Yamamoto's 3 Japanese companions, and David Chen, who asked the original question. Everyone is silent, the tension palpable. This is no longer demonstration. This is genuine test under conditions where real injury is possible. Yamamoto begins. He doesn't rush, doesn't attack wildly. He moves with the patient confidence of someone who knows his weapon provides overwhelming advantage. His first strike comes from the right side, nunchaku swinging in horizontal arc toward Bruce's ribs. The attack is fast, precise, aimed to hit body mass where evasion is difficult. Bruce's torso rotates. Not dramatically, not with wasteful motion, just precise angle change that makes the nunchaku pass by his ribcage with perhaps 3 inches of clearance. The weapon's passage creates wind that Bruce can feel against his skin. That close, that dangerous. Yamamoto follows immediately with second strike, vertical downward motion targeting Bruce's shoulder. Again Bruce moves, this time stepping offline while rotating his upper body. The nunchaku strikes air where Bruce was standing a fraction of a second earlier. The pattern establishes. Yamamoto attacks with increasing speed and complexity, figure 8 patterns that create continuous striking motion, combination strikes that come from multiple angles in rapid succession, low attacks targeting legs followed immediately by high attacks targeting head. He's using sophisticated nunchaku technique, the kind that takes years to develop, creating attack sequences that should be impossible to evade consistently. Bruce evades everything. His footwork is precise, economical, constantly adjusting distance and angle. His body positioning creates situations where Yamamoto's strikes have to travel farther to reach him, buying milliseconds of reaction time. His head movement is minimal but perfectly timed, letting strikes pass by his face with clearances measured in inches. 90 seconds have passed. Yamamoto is breathing harder, not from exertion, but from the mental strain of attacking continuously while making no contact. His nunchaku is moving at full speed now, creating that whistling sound with every swing, impacting nothing but air. Bruce, hands still bound behind his back, continues evading with the same calm precision he showed from the beginning. One of Master Wong's students whispers in Cantonese, "How is he doing that? He can't even see all the attacks. The nunchaku comes from behind sometimes. How does he know where to move?" Master Wong responds quietly, "He's reading Yamamoto's body. The shoulders telegraph the strikes, the hips show the weight shifts, the weapon follows patterns that Bruce has analyzed. He's not reacting to the nunchaku itself. He's reacting to the movements that must precede the nunchaku's motion." Yamamoto changes tactics. He begins mixing feints with real strikes, trying to draw Bruce into evasive movements that create vulnerability for follow-up attacks. Fakes a high strike, drops low when Bruce moves, starts a horizontal swing, reverses to vertical when Bruce adjusts. This is sophisticated weapons fighting, using the nunchaku's flexibility to create unpredictable attack sequences. Bruce handles it. His evasions become more subtle, more economical. He's not being fooled by feints because he's reading deeper patterns. Not just where the weapon is going, but what Yamamoto's body position allows him to do after the feint. He's processing multiple steps ahead, seeing the tree of possibilities that each position creates, moving to positions that minimize Yamamoto's options. 2 minutes have passed. Yamamoto is frustrated, his attacks becoming more aggressive, faster, more committed. The nunchaku is moving at speeds that blur in the fluorescent lighting, creating continuous motion that should be impossible to track, impossible to evade consistently, especially for someone with bound hands who can't protect his body. But Bruce has not been hit. Not once. Not even glancing contact. The nunchaku has passed within inches of his head, his torso, his legs dozens of times. But every strike has hit nothing but air, and Bruce continues moving with the same calm efficiency he showed at the beginning. Before I continue with what happens in the final minute of this impossible demonstration, with the technique that finally changes the dynamic and what Bruce teaches about weapons versus empty hands, I need to know you're feeling the tension of this moment. Drop a comment. Tell us where you're watching from and whether this demonstration is revealing something unexpected about the relationship between weapons mastery and empty hand understanding, about what's possible when skill transcends normal limitations. Because what happens in the final 60 seconds changes everyone's understanding of combat, of weapons, of the difference between tools and mastery. Yamamoto makes his final committed attempt. He attacks with a combination sequence he's used successfully in dozens of challenge matches. High diagonal strike that forces the opponent to duck, followed immediately by horizontal strike at the ducking level, followed by upward strike as the opponent tries to straighten. It's a 3-strike sequence that creates a box, eliminating evasion options, forcing the opponent to either block with their arms or take hits. Bruce doesn't duck when the high strike comes. Instead, his entire body drops into a low stance that passes under the first strike while simultaneously moving forward inside Yamamoto's weapon range. The horizontal second strike passes over Bruce's head because he's closer than Yamamoto expected, inside the arc where the nunchaku hasn't accelerated to full speed. The upward third strike can't execute because Bruce's positioning has disrupted Yamamoto's balance and timing. And now, Bruce is close, inside weapons range where nunchaku becomes disadvantaged, and his hands are still bound behind his back. Yamamoto tries to reset, tries to create distance where his weapon functions optimally. But Bruce stays close, his footwork matching Yamamoto's retreat, maintaining the range where the nunchaku master has no advantage. Yamamoto, desperate, attempts a close-range strike anyway, trying to use the nunchaku like a short baton. But at this distance, the weapon's flexibility becomes liability. Bruce's shoulder bumps Yamamoto's arm as the strike begins, disrupting the motion, making the nunchaku wobble unpredictably. The weapon hits Yamamoto's own leg rather than Bruce's body. Master Wong calls time. 3 minutes. Demonstration is complete. The training floor erupts in conversation. The Chinese practitioners are excited, vindicated. They're understanding that sophisticated empty-hand technique can handle weapons confirmed by what they just witnessed. Yamamoto's Japanese companions are shocked, struggling to process what they saw. Their master, an expert weapons practitioner, failing completely to strike someone whose hands were bound. Yamamoto himself stands breathing hard, staring at Bruce with expression that combines respect, confusion, and something like fear. He just faced someone who should have been helpless, should have been easy target for his mastered weapon, and couldn't land a single clean strike despite 3 minutes of continuous assault. Bruce, hands still bound, waits calmly for Master Wong to untie him. Once freed, he rotates his shoulders, flexes his fingers to restore circulation, then bows respectfully to Yamamoto. Not a mocking bow, not a triumphant gesture, but genuine respect for someone who attacked with full skill and provided legitimate testing. Your nunchaku skill is exceptional, Bruce says. Every technique was executed correctly, your speed was excellent, your combinations were sophisticated. The weapon was not the limitation. What you encountered was not superior empty-hand technique, but understanding of principles that apply regardless of tools. Yamamoto is listening intently now, his earlier certainty about weapon superiority shattered, his mind open to learning in a way it wasn't before the demonstration. What principles? How did you evade attacks you couldn't fully see while your hands were useless? First principle, distance management, Bruce explains. Weapons have optimal ranges. Nunchaku works best at medium distance where the weapon has space to accelerate, but the opponent can't easily close to grappling range. I maintained distances where your weapon was either too close or too far to function optimally. When you adjusted distance, I adjusted with you, never letting you establish the range your weapon needs. Second principle, reading the person, not the tool, Bruce continues. The nunchaku doesn't move itself. Your body moves it. Your shoulders, hips, weight shifts, all of these telegraph what the weapon will do before it does it. I wasn't watching the nunchaku. I was watching you. When your shoulder rotated certain ways, I knew strikes were coming. When your weight shifted, I knew from what direction. The weapon followed your body's patterns. Third principle, understanding that tools create dependencies, Bruce explains. You're exceptionally skilled with nunchaku, but that skill created dependency on the weapon functioning in specific ways. When I disrupted those ways by changing distance or position unexpectedly, your weapon mastery couldn't adapt quickly enough because your training optimized for scenarios where the weapon works normally. Fourth principle, accepting that all systems have costs, Bruce continues. Nunchaku provides significant advantages, speed, power, unpredictable angles, but it also has costs. The weapon requires space to accelerate. It creates momentum that limits your mobility. It demands specific grip and positioning that restrict your options. Empty hands have different costs and benefits. Understanding both allows exploiting weapons' costs while minimizing empty hands' limitations. Yamamoto absorbs this teaching, his expression showing the kind of openness that comes only after certainty has been destroyed and rebuilt into something more honest. You are saying my nunchaku mastery made me predictable? That my skill created the patterns you exploited? Yes, Bruce confirms. But that's true for all mastery, including mine. My Jeet Kune Do creates patterns that someone who studied me could exploit. The goal isn't eliminating patterns. That's impossible. The goal is recognizing your own patterns and being able to adapt when opponents recognize and counter them. Your nunchaku skill is real and valuable. But tonight you encountered someone whose training specifically addresses reading and exploiting patterns. That doesn't diminish your weapon mastery. It reveals that weapon mastery alone, without understanding of how opponents might counter it, has limitations. Master Wong has been watching this exchange with satisfaction. This is what his academy is for, not just teaching techniques, but facilitating honest testing and learning between practitioners from different systems. He addresses the group of 11 witnesses. What we observed tonight was not empty hands defeating weapons. It was sophisticated understanding defeating reliance on tools. Bruce could have been armed as well, could have met nunchaku with staff or sword. Instead, he chose to remove all his tools, even bound his hands to remove that option completely, forcing reliance purely on understanding of distance, timing, pattern recognition. That he survived 3 minutes against Yamamoto's expert nunchaku proves that understanding transcends tools. One of the Japanese practitioners who came with Yamamoto asks a question in Japanese. Yamamoto translates. He asks whether Bruce-san would be willing to teach these principles to weapons practitioners, to help us understand how opponents might counter our weapons so we can train to address those counters. Bruce considers this request. I can share some principles. But truly, understanding requires cross-training. You need to learn empty-hand fighting at a deep level, not just weapons work. Need to understand how unarmed opponents think, how they manage distance, what they look for when facing armed opponents. That understanding transforms your weapons work from technical execution into strategic application. They spend the next hour discussing principles, Bruce demonstrating specific concepts, while Master Wong provides translation and context. Yamamoto participates fully, asking detailed questions, showing his nunchaku techniques, and asking Bruce to explain what patterns they create, what counters they allow, how they could be refined to address the gaps Bruce identified. The session evolves from confrontation into collaboration. Yamamoto shows techniques, Bruce points out exploitable patterns. They discuss how to modify approaches to minimize vulnerabilities. The other practitioners watch and learn, absorbing lessons about the relationship between weapons and empty hands, about how mastery in one area creates both strengths and blind spots, about how honest testing reveals truths that theoretical discussion cannot. As the evening ends, the 11 witnesses disperse with new understanding. Master Wong's students have seen their kung fu senior brother handle impossible situations through pure understanding. Yamamoto's companions have witnessed their master's certainty challenged and his willingness to learn from the challenge. And everyone present has absorbed the deeper lesson that tools are extensions of understanding, not replacements for it. That weapon mastery without strategic awareness has limits. That the greatest warriors are those who can function with any tool or no tool, because their understanding transcends external implements. That's the truth 11 people witnessed at Wong's Academy in 1969, that Bruce Lee, with hands bound behind his back, could survive 3 minutes against a Nunchaku master's assault through pure understanding of distance, timing, and pattern recognition. That weapon superiority is real, but not absolute. That tools provide advantages but create dependencies. That the most complete martial artists are those who train beyond their preferred methods to understand how others might counter them. If this story revealed something about the relationship between tools and mastery, about what's possible when understanding transcends normal limitations, subscribe so you never miss these deeper truths. Comment below, tell us where you're watching from and what this taught you about weapons versus empty hands, about the difference between technical skill and strategic understanding. Let's build this knowledge together. The demonstration at Wong's Academy becomes legendary within certain Chinese martial arts circles. Master Wong tells the story to his students, using it to teach about the relationship between tools and understanding. Several of his advanced students seek out weapons training after witnessing what happened, recognizing that understanding weapons helps develop empty-hand skills that can counter them. Yamamoto returns to Okinawa with new perspective. He continues teaching Nunchaku, continues his Kobudo practice, but now incorporates scenarios where students face empty-hand opponents who know how to counter weapons. His teaching becomes more sophisticated, addressing not just weapon technique, but weapon strategy, not just how to strike, but how to manage distance against opponents who understand your patterns. He writes to Bruce several times over the following years, maintaining the connection they established that night. The letters discuss weapons principles, empty-hand counters, the evolution of both their practices. Yamamoto never fully adopts Bruce's approach. He remains primarily a weapons master, but his weapons work becomes more complete through understanding how empty hands can counter, how patterns create vulnerabilities, how tools require strategic awareness to use effectively. Bruce incorporates the Nunchaku experience into his teaching. When students ask about weapons, he tells them about facing Yamamoto with bound hands, about how understanding distance and timing allowed survival against lethal weapon wielded by expert. He uses the experience to teach that self-defense isn't about matching weapon with weapon, but about understanding principles that apply regardless of tools, about developing awareness that transcends specific techniques. The 11 witnesses carry the memory differently. Some focus on the physical impossibility, Bruce evading continuous Nunchaku assault without using his hands. Others focus on the philosophical lesson that mastery creates patterns, patterns allow counters, understanding those patterns matters more than technical skill. All of them use the experience to deepen their own practice, to question their own assumptions about what tools provide and what costs they incur. David Chen, the student who asked the original question that sparked the confrontation, becomes obsessed with understanding weapons. He trains in various weapon systems over the following decades: staff, sword, nunchaku, tonfa. But he approaches each weapon with the lesson from that night in mind. He learns not just how to use weapons, but how opponents might counter them, not just offensive techniques, but the vulnerabilities those techniques create. His weapons work becomes renowned for its strategic sophistication, its awareness of gaps and counters, its integration of empty-hand understanding into armed combat. 3 of the 11 witnesses are still living as of this writing. All 3, when asked about significant martial arts experiences, mentioned that evening at Wong's Academy. They describe it differently, some emphasizing Bruce's evasive skill, others focusing on Yamamoto's frustrated attacks, others highlighting the teaching that followed. But they all agree on the core lesson, that tools are extensions of understanding, not replacements for it. That weapon mastery creates both power and dependency. That the most dangerous martial artists are those who can function effectively with any tool or no tool because their understanding transcends external implements. That Bruce Lee with bound hands was more dangerous than most people with weapons because his understanding was so complete, so refined, so applicable regardless of circumstance. The story exists in fragments across different martial arts communities. Nunchaku practitioners sometimes tell versions where Bruce barely survived, where Yamamoto's restraint saved him from injury. Wing Chun practitioners tell versions where Bruce dominated effortlessly, proving Chinese kung fu's superiority over Japanese weapons. The truth, as the 11 witnesses know, is more nuanced. Bruce survived through sophisticated understanding applied under genuinely dangerous conditions. Yamamoto attacked with real skill and genuine attempt to prove weapon superiority. Neither man was wrong about their capabilities. Both learned that their understanding was incomplete. The demonstration proved not that empty hands beat weapons, or that weapons beat empty hands, but that understanding beats reliance on any specific tool, that adaptability trumps specialization, that the warrior who can function in any condition with any limitation is more dangerous than the specialist who requires specific tools and circumstances. 11 people witnessed Bruce Lee face a Nunchaku champion with his hands tied behind his back. 11 people saw 3 minutes of continuous assault produce 0 clean hits. 11 people learned that what separates good martial artists from great ones isn't physical capability or technical skill or preferred weapons, but depth of understanding that transcends normal limitations and functions effectively under any condition. A Nunchaku master learned his weapon mastery created exploitable patterns. A kung fu practitioner proved empty-hand understanding could handle lethal weapons. 11 witnesses absorbed lessons about tools and mastery that transformed their practice. And the story survives in fragments and whispers because the people present understood they witnessed something rare, honest testing under dangerous conditions that revealed uncomfortable truths about weapons, about skill, about the difference between technical mastery and strategic understanding. He faced a Nunchaku champion while his hands were tied. Only 11 people witnessed it. And those 11 carried forward the lesson that real mastery transcends tools, that understanding beats specialization, that the most complete martial artists are those who can adapt to any limitation and still function at the highest level. Not because they're superhuman, but because their understanding runs so deep that external circumstances become irrelevant to their effectiveness.